But I will start a little bit with some shorts on the profile. So let's get going with that. As always, there are continuous news rolling in. The project has formally ended by end of August, but just before summer, we see that we do have spin-offs coming from the research. We're going to see the results, but we see we have this Stanford project, which had good results this year. It was together with Volvo once again, come up with an energy solution. The Strategic Sustainability Research Group got new research collaboration in sustainable development, amazing. We got on the EVA 100 list for the third time, I think, over 2 years. So it's quite good. It's projects that are seen by others to have a great impact on sustainability challenges in Sweden and globally. So it's quite interesting. And there's lots of more news coming in. But one of the things which I think is that Corona thing. So this profile has been going on since 2013 in the first phase up to 19. And then we got the 3-year plus profile. So we have to say that during that 3-year period, most of the time has actually been in Corona state. So that's kind of interesting. So remember that when we talk about results, because the actual numbers we have in publications is actually quite amazing, based on the fact that we have been restricted to online collaboration mostly for the longest part of this last period. So try to remember that. But when we set out to work with this profile, the plus profile, we talked about going global. So we had started to build the profile and we had seen some impact during the first 6-year period. But we saw also that we need to kind of be a little bit more global. And that has been actually quite stressful when we're talking about having Corona at the same time, because it restricted traveling. So that's where I feel that if we look at results, we have had some challenges and maybe not reaching the kind of full potential of the profile. But the main idea of the profile was to, in co-production mode, develop, disseminate, and integrate relevant, user-friendly, and efficient support methods and tools for sustainable PSS innovation. This is why we had this kind of high focus on developing digital tools and things being tried out with the industry continuously, so we can have decision support. There are lots of things who kind of forces us to do this. One is, of course, the ongoing servitization of industry. And we can also talk about as a digitalization era, basically. But the servitization of companies moving away from pushing artifacts to wanting to push functions is one of the main drivers for the profile, jointly with the fact that we have a large sustainability challenge globally. And I think that's interesting because if we're tracking what we're doing in research, both in this project and all the spin-off projects we are doing, we do actually have quite a good impact on the sustainable development goals. I could actually name more than these, but I'm looking at some of those goals where we actually can have a measurable impact. And if we're looking a little bit deeper, goal number 9 and goal number 10, industry innovation and infrastructure, responsible consumption and production. This is where we have a huge impact, I would say, through the research in the research profile and spin-off projects like this. And this is where we also meet companies, I think, because we are not producing items, but the companies are. We are on a digitalization journey. And when we're talking about servitization, we also see that industries, their products and their solutions are transforming. It's not just educating engineers that design things these days, and it's all about making them work in terms of structural fatigue or something like that. It's all about making entire ecosystems work. And digitalization is giving us tools like AI and machine learning to integrate with our already existing tools. This has been some of the items we've been working with in the profile for the past years. If I'm looking at what a profile has given a university like BTH, we see that we have increased capacity. These are not exact numbers. It's also kind of dependency on different projects, but we basically doubled up in research. We doubled up, more than doubled up in PhD students, both local and industry. We have spin-off projects from Profile for over 100 million crowns. We have a stronger focus actually at the university on sustainability, digitalisation, which is kind of interesting. This is actually our strategic domains today at the university. We have stronger, closer co-production with partners. We see this, we are continuously starting up new projects outside the Profile based on research done in Profile. We do have a strong academic track. We've been evaluated on this, but we also see it actually in numbers. I kind of like that green square up in the corner. So in the parentheses, you have for the first phase, the 6 years, and after that, you have the last phase, the 3 years. So it's kind of amazing numbers. If we're looking at journals, we have more than 90 journals. And conferences, 190 conferences and counting. And licentiates and PhDs graduated more than 26. This is actually amazing. If we look at the production during Corona time, we see that they're quite high numbers. The time span is half the time span of the first period, but still we have these good numbers. So that shows that the first 6-year period was a kind of growing up, getting capacity, and we see when we have the capacity, we can deliver. And we are going to get some more info on that kind of capacity also in the presentations here. And if we're looking at the dissertations, of course, you can't see them all here, but I will share this information afterwards. It's kind of interesting. We see a lot of people remain in academia, some are out in industry, but it's research being put into practice, which is kind of interesting. We also see that it gives value to partners. We give partners, we think, the possibility to, through our research, have the ability to model, simulate, develop new solutions which are better for environment, they are performing better in function, etc. It's not that we are developing a specific new product, but we are part of what's going on now in moving from fossil to electric, moving from unsustainable to sustainable. And that is one of the goals of the research. And we are, of course, contributing to the entire body of knowledge in the field. We are now not being evaluated for the last period, but we were evaluated for the first period. And if we're looking at the data, I'm kind of strong in my belief that we have grown even better. But it's kind of interesting to see this was an external firm that rated us above the benchmark average in all the fields in terms of publication. They rated us quite high in specialization and quite high also in impact compared to other actors in Sweden. We should remember that we are a small actor in the university network of Sweden. We are a niche actor. So this is quite good, actually. This is not the university, it's this constellation we are working in. For the past 3 years, we've been working in streams. And what I've done here is basically highlighting with green and yellow where we have succeeded or where we still have some miles to go. So we worked in research as one of the streams. I would say we have fulfilled a lot of the goals we put up. Strategic publication, I would say the same. And Marco will share a little bit about that process. The strategic internationalization, we have actually gone forward, but I do have to say that the pandemic situation did slow us down in that. So we have built collaborations. We are looking to both education and research collaboration with actors around the world, but it's being delayed just because it's really hard to move around. We developed capabilities, and the idea was that we should have established a research center by now, but I'm pretty sure that that's something that's going to happen over the next year. There are some strong Vinnova and KTS calls right now. So we're hoping that that can be the kind of next vehicle of research. And we also have educational integration, and Christian will share a little bit about that today. So overall, it's been quite good, actually, for what we've done. We also see in the same manner, we met up on objectives of increasing funding, of establishing processes, establishing methods and tools. We are going to report this together with companies. That's a deadline, a hard deadline, 31st of October. So together with companies, I will share information and we will make drafts to make sure we can submit that in 1.5 months. So we'll probably be okay, I think. We've been running research in research tracks, and this has been a way to kind of also divide management and give the potential for other researchers to grow. And during the period of the entire profile, I think we've gotten 3 new professors. We have Sharon Kawalter, got professor a couple of years back, and we have Sophie Hallstedt, she became professor during this profile, and also Marco Bertoni. So they are now their research track leaders also here. Nice to meet you here. So in a while, we will actually get their view of their respective research track, which is specific focuses we have in the research profile. So we say that we have this tool view, and one of the items we kind of try to merge solutions into has been what we call the model-driven decision arena. And we're into the 3rd version of that one, and some tools are integrated. And the fun thing, actually, we had a press release this last week, is that we're now building the 4th generation, which is going to be a virtual production studio lab, which is going to be built somewhere here in town. It requires quite the space, but it's fully funded, and we actually started the project last week. So it's going to be facilities, I'll talk more about it later, that will dual both for our research, but also for a growing digital film industry and for media technology at BTH. And I'm pretty sure industry will like this also for both heavy computational efforts and visualization to get this kind of complex decision visualized in new ways. We also established innovation spaces for both students and researchers. We have the makerspace, which is part of what we call the innovation labs, where students can prototype no matter where they're coming from. We have Volvo, who have their electric site scale demo that we are shipping around the world. We have an industry portal, cyber physical lab, which is part of future production to demo. So these are things that are being showcased around the world also.